You're listening to Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and Friends. And here's Russ.
Hey, welcome back to Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and Friends. One of my good friends, Jay Witherbee. How you doing, Jay?
Doing great.
Thanks for hanging out with me. We're having a good time. In fact, this is our first video production of our radio show, and this will be the 69th show that we've done. And just talking about time, it just seems like a couple days ago I started doing a radio show out of the blue, and now it's been going on 3 years. So you were 10 years on the air. And before that, you were, or during that, you were the mayor.
Mayor before that.
Mayor before that, and a business owner in Chelan before that. So last segment, we were just talking about growth. You know, and when you combine the demand, which seems to be increasing at an astronomical rate now that the technology has allowing people to work from anywhere. And here we have, unlike a lot of places, but everywhere in the country is feeling something similar. But we are in one of the most desirable places in the country in the Northwest. And then you can't really, if you're a tech person, you can't really, every kid in the world probably knows what the Space Needle is with Microsoft and Amazon. And so all of a sudden that city's grown like crazy. And now we have a very distinct desert climate compared to the west side, where we got those 4 seasons and that 300 days of sunshine, 8,000-foot mountain peaks, clean air, clean water. You can tell I've done this speech before. About 30 plus years of selling my hometown. So I'm a little bit worried, man. I mean, as a real estate developer, which you are now, and as a real estate broker, owner, and developer myself, you know, we have pushing 70 agents, but boy, I'm kind of afraid about what could happen to price.
Is it going to be sustainable? Makes me a little nervous. I mean, we've talked, you and I have talked about this as a business, as an investment in developing land right now. What's the future look like? Well, it's hard to say, but I know that there's a huge shift in housing. People are moving to vacation communities, and those are the folks who can do that. Either they're retirees or they're knowledge workers, the ones we're talking about, the Amazon folks, the Microsoft, those kinds of folks, Google. They want to live and work from home, and so I see that happening here. Now, I've read some that people think that that'll be helpful, like in the Seattle market, where maybe homes will become more affordable because a lot of people want to get out of the Seattle market and they want to live and work and play in Central Washington. Right. But there is a supply demand issue here. Way back you went to college, you got your economics degree. It was pretty simple. Supply and demand runs this program. That's the cloud over all of this, and it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and the economic latitude, or the delta between the economics of what you can do online. I heard an interesting fact. I guess it's a fact. I mean, first of all, never listen to me because I probably am a salesman and not a scientist. So let's get that disclaimer out. But I heard that an average Facebook employee is 29 years old right now and makes $240,000 a year on a W-2. I know personally we're pushing 70 real estate brokers in North Central Washington, and we're seeing W-2s in the people in their 20s, a combined income over $500,000 at their day jobs, couples. It's hard to make that kind of money over here.
It's tough.
And so when you look at the housing situation, the cost of lumber going up like crazy, because frankly, if you think about the macroeconomics, like you mentioned, Econ 101 says, if there's 100 million people theoretically moving from the metropolitan area and high rises to the country, we don't have that housing. And so the building companies, the article I read was interesting, Jay, they stopped production because they remember 2008, 9, 10 also. And they thought that the zombie apocalypse called the coronavirus back 5 months ago, we didn't know, right? That they would slow down production. So I heard I read where there's 1 billion board feet they're behind, and then all these people moving to these more suburbia country areas don't have houses. So the vertical construction demand is intense. What I'm concerned is, and I'm curious how you feel, when rates are at zero, I mean, we're doing deals. We just did a 15-year fixed, I think Prime Lending did, one of our co-hosts here, Michael, 1.8%, 15-year fixed. 30 years fixed are in the low twos, mid twos. What happens when they go back to 5 or 6 or 7? Which, for people who've been in real estate a long time, that's still good. For people that are coming up now in their early 20s, 5, 6, 7% feels like, what the heck? How could I ever buy a house? So what do you feel is going to happen? What do you think the end of the day is? And the right move?
interestingly, the builders that I talk with and real estate agents like yourself and brokers that I talk with, a lot of these deals are cash. There is no interest rate involved.
Yeah.
But that's one segment, of our society. But those are the retirees and knowledge, the Facebook, Google folks. What about the rest of us?
Yeah.
Because I'm one of those. I'm not. I can't pay $800,000 cash for a house. I can't. I don't drive a $175,000 Porsche. I drive a 2010 F-150. It's got a couple of dings and dents in it, and I like it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But
me too.
I know, but it's I don't have a solution. But we can't just build custom homes for that segment of society. We have to keep focus as well that if there's not someone there, if I can't find someone to come over and take care of my lawn, then I guess I don't get a lawn or something. I mean, everybody needs a home.
Yeah, when you were on Second Cup of Coffee, which people don't know what that program is, it's on another radio station, and it's a call-in program. You were the host of that show for a long time, and this polarizing scenario that we're feeling right now in politics, always on an election year we feel it, but especially now with the woke movement and all of the political unrest and so on. Over the years, tourism was an issue, right? Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because my dad's group, those farmers from the original days, they were the original obstructionists of growth, but they were nothing, in my opinion, compared to what I'm seeing now, which I call the slice of heaven mentality. Like, I bought my condo, let's blow the tunnel.
Boy, Russ, I couldn't agree with you more. So here was my belief when I was still in politics. The Chelan Valley was perfect on this date, okay? For me, it was June of 1983. For your dad, it was, April of 52. Yeah. For some people, it is tomorrow.
Right.
And that's when Chelan was perfect, and that's when we should stop. That's when growth should stop. What was your perfect day? And you said, oftentimes, in the old days, it used to be what we really wanted to do was put a turnstile on this side of the tunnel, on the Chelan side of the tunnel, and have everybody come up and go around that turnstile, throw some money in, and head right back through the tunnel again.
Right. Tourism.
Yeah.
And then we grew, right? I mean, I've seen the same home in my career go for $350 and $1.3.
Yeah.
I remember when $350,000 on the lake was expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's possible, but it is. I feel pretty young, but it seems like I'm getting older. So here's what's interesting to me. Affordable housing. I hear a lot and you're in government, so you understand that side of the coin. I don't. All I know is that they talk a good game at every level of politics about affordable housing, and they accomplish nothing. And I don't, I'm one of those guys, I like the idea, like they're doing that program in Chelan with their $200,000+ townhomes. That's great, but you don't own the dirt. I mean, $200,000+ in my head, I get it. It's probably better than renting. It's kind of like buying a mobile home on a rented lot, though. I mean, that would be the closest comparison, and that's a good accomplishment. But what I'm concerned with is between the lack of subcontractors, the lack of available land, the overregulation and overreach of the 7 or 8 government agencies, supply and demand problem, an economic diversification that is so vastly different from this side of the state to the other side of the state with an invasion, because that's probably the word. It's a complicated problem, and I'm not saying I have the answer. I know this, though, at our firm, we're getting into land use at a high level because I believe real estate brokers, that's one area where we could maybe start to work on some regulations together. And there are some cool things happening, but supply and demand, right? I mean, if we can't figure out a more efficient way to build and a more efficient way to develop, and I'd like to get into your development too, I just see the price going up. Even if rates spike back up, because like you said, there's enough equity coming over the hill. You can sell your $1 million 2-bedroom condo in downtown Seattle and come over with a bag of money. How do you
doing
feel?
it in groves?
Yeah, every day. I've never seen it I've never seen it like this, and I've been in it since '89, and it's concerning. But here's what I don't like, and you probably dealt with these calls. I don't like it when people get upset at people for wanting to be where you live. I mean, it is America. right? We should be able to move in America wherever we want. So my personal opinion is you may not like the fact that we're growing. My dad didn't, I didn't. Mine was probably July of '87. That was a pretty good year. Water skiing, that was fun. That was a good time. Had a lot of hair back then. Much more aerodynamic now, though, so that's good. So how do you feel about that, where people get PO'd at people for wanting to live in a town that's cool?
Yeah, that's that. What I was talking about with Chelan was perfect. Chelan Valley was perfect this date. Same things happening in Wenatchee, East Wenatchee, Leavenworth. It was perfect on this particular date. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. In case you're wondering, this is reality. And like you, I don't know what the answer is, but I think that regulation and looking at land use regulation is a big part of it. And but I really truly don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, like you said, millions of years ago, we ran out of making dirt.
Yep.
So anytime you have a finite amount of supply, and which seems to be an unlimited demand, and now with the opening of the technology world, you can work from anywhere, it's a challenge. So we're going to come back. I want to dive into some more reminiscing and some fun stuff. It's an interesting time in real estate, and I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you coming in. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and friends.